What's up, YouTube? Got another Forza Motorsport race for you guys this week. This week I decided to race in the Forza GT Multiclass series, which consists of 3 classes, Group 1, 2, and 3, being GT2, GT3, and GT4 respectively. Me and my buddies decided to race in the Group 3 cars, GT4s. Most of us are in the Jetta GT4, with New Hawk being in the Audi equivalent of the GT4. I think it's a TT, but we're at Hakone in the wet, and the saying that the wet really evens out the playing field is pretty true in this race. Although the faster GT2s and 3s have so much more power than us on the straight and are able to pull away, you can really see in the corners, it really does even out the playing field. We're able to kind of hang with them in the corners. But this is just a great race and a great series. We're having a lot of fun with it. We jumped around in all the groups, but in this race in particular, we were like, it's raining, let's pick the slower cars and just see what we can do. Can we hang with the big boys up top? And it works and it doesn't, but it's a great race, and at least the 4 of us in the Group 3, although we're kind of just avoiding absolute garbage racing every once in a while like that, but it was a phenomenal race, and we're actually in a higher safety rating than you would expect with that collision right there. We're currently in safety rating A, because the game only takes the lowest safety rating into account. So the lowest in our group is A. I think most of us are actually in A. There might be one S, but it's a pretty safe race, and our skill level's high enough where you can kind of expect people to be pretty clean for the most part. I mean, we're all in the 4900s, but if you're in C, it's always garbage. But in A at 49, it's safe enough. But let's jump back into the race, because this was just, I couldn't stop doing this series. The multi-class was just so much fun. You can see right here, this Corvette Group 1 car has so much power and just kind of takes away. I try to sit right behind him and get whatever slipstream he would offer me, which was not a lot, but you can kind of see I catch up with the group in front of Muscles and New Hawk and actually make up a whole lot of time in the corner, because I think that Corvette caused a bit of a bump between the two of them. But the saying of, the wet weather making it even for everybody is very apparent in this race. Hakone is such a wide track that you can take so many different lines, and just trying to find the proper line with the most grip it was a thrill of a race. Right now, we're sitting P3 behind New Hawk, who's behind Muscles. Aventador seems to be struggling a little bit in the back. I think he got taken out in turn 1, unfortunately. With having a large group, there's always at least one of us that gets screwed over on turn 1. But now as we pull around this big bend, this turn wound up being super important. It's such a large, radius of a turn, but because it's such a low grip, if you go too, wide, you're just destroying your exits. You have to be very, very passive with that turn. Make sure you got a good exit. Because if you even got an okay exit, but if you weren't in the right line, you couldn't take that chicane or whatever you would call it that leads up to the straight flat out. We were able to take it almost flat out if you took it just right. Now right here, I really just want to pass New Hawk, but I'm trying to be patient with it. I'm trying to let him, drive, catch up the Muscles, and I really have no need to pass him in any of these, crazy corners. It's just gonna kill us both. It's much more advantageous to both of us to just pass back and forth on the straight. So that's what my plan was the whole race. I'm not trying to pass anybody on these turns unless I happen to find so much more grip than whoever I'm side by side with. But now we're going in the start finish line, and you can see we got a good draft. We should be able to pass Muscles here. I should be able to sneak in a good draft and play in the position, but I kind of goof and almost crash in the back of him. But he ends up crashing a little bit to the back of New Hawk, which allows us to just all stay in a big bunch together. This turn is so tricky behind another car. You really want to keep it flat out, but with a little bit of a draft and just not a lot of grip, one wrong mistake sends you to the left on that gravel, and you either lose a bunch of time or you're hitting the wall and losing more time. It's just better to be safe than to try to get an overtake there. And right here, Muscles is going to do a send on New Hawk. I'm just getting front row seats to it. I run into him there, and we actually talked about this. He thought I was a bad dive bomb. I promise it was not supposed to be a dive bomb. I was just watching whatever was going on, and from my POV, it seems like he turned in on me, but from his POV, it looked like it was open for him to do a switchback. It just kind of was unfortunate, and you know, looking at it from both perspectives, it was just an incident. It's just a bummer because it puts him back behind me by almost half a second. You can lose so much time at Hakone in the wet if you do not get the proper exits. One thing that's really fun about these multi-class races is there's no final lap, I guess. Because we're all in such different cars, it's just a timer. So it's 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes, it just matters on how much distance you drove. So it's a lot of fun. You might only do 8 laps in a Group 4 car, but let's say you're in, you know, one of the really fast Group 3 cars. I have that backwards. If you're in one of the fast GT3 cars, you might get a couple more laps in. It makes it a lot of fun. Just battling the time. Now I got a real nice overtake on Newalk there, but he almost came back and took it back, but I closed the door and was able to kind of secure it for just at least one more turn. But he's looking up on my inside here, and I know he wants it. He's very patient with me, though, and doesn't shoot the gap, which I appreciate. Almost have a little collision there, but he's patient, and I really appreciate it. He should get a pretty good run on me, though, if he just gets a good exit out of this turn, which kind of looks like he gets a little squirrely and just loses. Yeah, that's not the best exit. Now, I was talking about how it feels like even playing ground with these higher class cars. You look ahead, that is the Group 1 first place right there, I believe. That or it's P2. But it's kind of crazy. There's maybe a good extra 200, 300 horsepower. I mean, that car is so much stronger, but we're not actually losing that much distance from it. We're not racing him. Oh, it's P3, looking at the map. We're not racing him, but it's actually kind of a shocker because when you do the dry races, it's not even close. You're getting lapped by some of the quick guys in those cars. I think that really just speaks to how well Hakone as a fictional track is with the multi-class in the rain. Like it's one of the most fun tracks I've ever raced in, and it's fake. The one thing that makes these races super interesting is the tire strategy. Going into a normal race, you'll have, you know, it'll say like, oh, you got 20 laps maybe. You're going, okay, maybe I'll do 10 laps on mediums, 10 on another set of mediums or hards and softs, but when you have a time race, you really don't know how many laps you're going to get in. It gives you an estimate. I think for us, it estimated around probably 18 laps or something. I'm not 100% sure, but you're really just guessing, right? And in the wet, the strategy isn't that important. You're just going to pit for more wets. But we found that sometimes just sitting on hards for the whole race was the move. In other races, it was better to do mediums to softs. It's real fun to try to find the perfect strategy in these races. What's really interesting is you have Group 1 P3 and Group 2 P3 right in front of us, and it almost looks like they're battling for there's no reason I should have caught up this much time to them, but they're battling a little bit. I wonder if it's just, you know, constant back and forth overtakes on the straights, because they're not losing that much time, but if they were bump drafting, they would be long gone. And I imagine a lot of the lost time is from these corners. I bet they're doing they're probably not making the smartest decisions in these turns going side by side. They're not in the same group. They should not be racing each other. I have somehow built a 2-second gap low to New Hawk, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable, and behind him is Muscles, and behind him Aventador's caught up, so they should all be battling. I should be able to at least lock in P1 for this race at Hakone. The real question is, can I catch up to this group ahead of us and have a bit of fun? If I can catch up to either of them, I'm going to have such an easier time pulling away from P2 and P3 behind me just because of that draft. I'll catch up on the turns, but that draft on the straight will be just phenomenal because I'll get just a great exit almost every time. Now it's around this part of the race where we normally would be thinking about hitting for new tires, but being on the wets, these actually are lasting quite a bit, and we're all chit-chatting. I mean, we're all, strategizing with each other, even though we're all racing against each other. And the wets make it the whole way. It's over half over, and they're kind of surviving, but that front left looks like it might just give out within the last 2 laps. It's just there. And the tire deg at Hakone is very real. You will lose that front left, and it will be a pain to race. And every time you have dead tires at Hakone, it's one of those tracks where you just lose way more time than you expect. These turns are just a bit too fast and a bit too sharp. You just lose too much time. Now we have front row seats to Group 1 and Group 2 battling each other for no reason. We did a couple races in this series, and like I was saying before, it was kind of wild. The Group 1 cars, or GT2, they have way more horsepower, and they start in front of everybody else. But it seems like the Group 3 car, or Group 2 cars, the GT3s, are faster. Now, I know a bit of, the GT cars and stuff, but I had to Google it because I was confused. That doesn't make sense. Because the GT3 cars were passing the GT2 cars. It turns out GT2 has more power and less aerodynamics. GT3s have less power, more aerodynamics. They're more dependent on aerodynamics. They're supposed to be harder to drive, but I mean, it seems like the GT3s are faster than the GT2s in almost every track here, which is a little backwards. Feels like it should be the other way, definitely with, I guess, Group 1 starting in front of them, but it does make it interesting. The races where we did GT3 cars, it was always so interesting because you're just trying to fight through the slower Group 1 cars. Somehow right now I am actually going wheel to wheel with a GT2 Corvette in this super slow GT4 car. The toe is just, I guess, that good, and I'm finding way more grip on the turns than he is. Now, granted, I'm not trying to pass him, but I'm definitely playing with the idea. Why not? If he is that slow, why not? But staying behind him, we've actually built almost a whole extra second of a gap. That toe has just pulled us so far ahead, and second and third New Hawk and Aventador are fighting with each other, so it's even more of a boost. They're slowing each other down, and I'm getting a nice boost going forward. It's great. So with little less than 5 minutes left, Muscles decided to pit, and it's kind of looking like it was a bad idea. No, the tires are still okay. We're still getting a good amount of grip. Clearly getting enough grip to, go toe-to-toe with this Corvette, but I think, the wets at Hakone will last the entire 20 minutes. This is a bold decision to me. I don't know why I went side by side with him. I guess in my head, I'm thinking no matter what, he's going to pull ahead of me, and it's just going to give me a great exit. Oh, there's Muscles. Something happened to him. But look at this pole. Look how far and fast he pulls away. I mean, that's unreal. The fact that we're able to keep up with him, the range just really evens out these cars quite a bit. Granted, it could be a lot of driver error, but, it doesn't look like he's making too many mistakes in it, just going off of what I see. And it's not like the cars ahead of him are pulling away like crazy. We're all kind of on a similar pace somehow. It'll be real interesting to compare all the fastest laps, because I would not be shocked if the qualifying laps are very different, but now that we're on race pace, I would not be shocked if they're all pretty close to each other. This is where it starts to get tricky. We have that Corvette in front of us. The tires are starting to lose a bit of grip, and it's still raining pretty hard. So that little, like, I guess, high-speed chicane, whatever you want to call it, it's getting a little scary to go flat out. And if you notice, there is a car pulling up on me. A Ferrari Group 2 car? A GT3 Ferrari caught up. And to, I guess make it more interesting, Aventador has caught up. He was about 3 seconds behind, but he is making incredible pace. And I'm just going to let this Ferrari through. There's no point in trying to fight him. We did realize the best goal, and this is pretty obvious. The best thing, whenever you see a faster car coming up on you, let them through and, either try to let them through on the straight or try to take a line through a turn that lets them through as fast as they can, because they're going to give you a tow. And let's say I'm in second and Muscles is in first. If I let the GT3 car go super quickly without a problem and it catches up and starts having issues, there's a chance I catch up to Muscles or whatever, right? So we were using them strategically. It felt like we were playing chess. And so begins another battle between separate classes. GT3 car just flies by that Corvette. Just shows the speed that those GT3 cars have. Now, as we have a minute left, we're doing whatever we can to stay as far away from Aventador as we can. We're not going to try to battle this Corvette. We're only going to try to overtake him if we think we're losing time because of him. Like right here, I'm going side by side with him, knowing he's going to pull away right here. I'm going to leave the room. The whole idea is to just keep my pace. And he somehow makes a mistake, and oh my goodness, he did too. Now we're just catching up with lots of cars that are much quicker than us. I mean, but it's fine. But we're gonna finish P1, which is nice. Doesn't happen often. I guess if you made it this far, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. And just gonna be one race this week. But if you like the content, I hope you consider liking or subscribing. It really means a lot. The channel is slowly growing, and I'd like to make it to 50 subscribers before the end of the year. We're almost there at 39. But with that, compare some of these laps real quick. 123 for a Group 2 car in P1. Big Willie. I didn't even realize he was in this race. He was another. But yeah, with that, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Enjoy this podium.